Tanya, the way I perceive it, the way I experience it, is a combination. It's a hybrid, or almost, it has two modes. It's bimodal. Almost has a contradiction in it. Like a person walking, one leg walks and the other one are in opposite directions almost. One side of the Tanya for me is very intellectual, very cognitive, and has in my mind, a significant relationship to science. I'll explain later, because I'm a professor at Columbia. I do research on behavioral economics. I've been researching that for 20 years. A lot of what we are researching now, a lot of the theories we're developing now, I mean in the 21st century, a lot of the findings that we are finding now, in the last 30 years or last year, the Tanya has spoke about them, has told us about them hundreds of years ago. So there's a scientific side to it that is astonishing to me. That's something that is in the oven now, is out of the press now in our scientific community. They saw it and described it hundreds of years ago. That to me was very mystical. I've learned from a few lessons, just a few hours of Tanya, what I have not learned in over 20 years of scientific research, in terms of the depth and also the practicality of it. Something in our existence, I don't know if it's in our physical existence, I'm not sure if it's in the here and now, but something that we're not seeing that the Tanya helps us see and understand. That hybrid, that combination between something that is more cognitive, more scientific, more philosophical, along with something that is more practical and more psychological and more like a cookbook, I find very compelling, but also very, very different, very unique. You don't see that. In science, in the scientific community, it's very dry and cold. In some philosophy or some psychology, it's very emotional. This combination is very unique. And then as time progressed, with more time, I saw the impact that it has on my life and on different life situations.
Het niet bij hem gaan. Zullen leren naar voor juristen nog zullen fotograferen. Dan zal dat hier hebben we nog terug opgeven. Zo kan je vandaan niet leren.
The Tanya has impacted me greatly, mainly from the fact that it has such a practical implications in my life. And I study at least a few times a week. The thing for me is about the concept of the animal soul, the two souls, and just being so conscious of the fact that there are these two souls and that the animal soul really does rule our sort of basic being, and being conscious of it, and still, you know, to the rabbi's point, you'll daven, you'll meditate, you'll study Tanya, and then you'll go back to doing exactly what your animal soul wants you to do. But just now being able to wake up every morning and be aware and cognizant of the fact that there is this deeply ingrained part, one of your souls, that's controlling you that way, but also the fact that there's the godly soul sitting there, hopefully closer and not further, which can really help you make the right decisions and overcome what your basic instincts want you to do. This just feels to me to be so relevant to everything, everyday life. And it's amazing that the Alter Rebbe can take concepts from mysticism and Kabbalah and Zohar and really boil them down to advice that really can help you very specifically get through challenges that you may be going through in your own life.
It's full of wisdom that I have been wishing to understand for years. My grandfather, Alav Shalom, I was really close with him. I loved him, and he was in the hospital. He'd had a massive heart attack. So I went to the hospital, and my mother and my father were walking out. Of course, I was upset, and they said, "Your grandpa is in intensive care. You should go and see him." And they told me it was serious at that moment. Immediately I went to intensive care. I walked into his room, doctors and nurses all around, and he smiled and he said, "I want you to listen to something." It was a moment in my life that made a difference for me forever. My grandfather told me I left. But on the way, I saw my grandparents, my great-grandparents. They were waiting there. He was at the last gate, and he put his hands up and said, "Stop, don't open that door. Don't open. I need to go back. I haven't said goodbye to my grandchildren." My grandfather told me so much about life right there at that moment. Life is a circle where we come from, where we go back to. I could never connect the two. I've done so many different things in my life trying to preoccupy myself because I've never been able to understand until the first line of the Tanya, Likutei Amarim. Before you're sent to live here on earth to start your job, the angels tell you how to be and then how not to be. And with every line, I connect to my life better. So could I ever put down Tanya?
What inspires me the most to study Tanya is the clarity that I gain from it. When you're truly connected to Hashem and your mindset is there to serve Hashem, you can see that He's giving you an opportunity and you're not going to let that opportunity pass. And you're grateful for it. Instead of being a burden, instead of telling yourself you're busy, someone else can do it, you embrace it. You take the opportunity to do it, and you're grateful for it, you know? You thank Hashem at the end of the day. You can daven, you can have all the kavanah that you want to have, but Tanya is the next level.
I'm studying Tanya now well in excess of 35 years. It covers every subject you can think of in daily life and living. One of the things about Tanya is it's closely related with the Rebbe. Many things the Rebbe said and did came from Tanya, and that's why I love the Tanya.
You can test your spiritual side, and for somebody that has a strong spiritual side that they didn't know about, it's probably like going through therapy, and after 30 years you get a result, but here you get a result right away.
I've been coming to the shul, davening the shul at Chabad here on the Upper East Side for almost 2 years. In the morning for Shacharis, you can count on me being late. On Shabbos, you can count on me being late. When I do a Mila, you can count on me being the last one there. But for the Tanya class, I'm never late. Thank goodness I am never late. I'm always on time. I don't want to miss one word. My training or my learning over the last 30 some odd years was Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Berurah, Gemara, Mishnah, period. Laws, halachas, and if I was lucky, they would all click together and I would understand the whats and the whens. But I don't think that I've ever learned the whys. And the whys are very, very important. You could become expert in Jewish law, but you're sort of lacking what it means to be Jewish. What does the Jewish faith mean? The Tanya gives me sort of a wrapping, a basis, a philosophy of what being Jewish actually means. If someone were to ask me, what does Jewish mean? What does the faith mean? It gives a nice wrapping around what Jewish law is and how to act like a Jew and what does it mean. And for that, I'm very grateful. I believe it's not feasible to learn it through the book, in my own opinion. Whether it be in Hebrew, whether it be in English, or whatever language your primary language is. At my age, I've learned with many, many teachers. Been through college, graduate school, high school, and I've been through my share. But I can tell you without a doubt that there is no one that will teach you as clearly, heartfully, painlessly, and completely, and thoroughly, and with a warmth and with emes as Rabbi Kranziewski. I would highly recommend it. You have questions before, during, or after, you raise your hand, and he will give you the biggest smile, and he'll answer your question completely.
For many years, people were telling me that it's very important for me to learn Tanya, and I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't even start learning it. I wasn't interested, or just never made it to any classes. Just wasn't, I guess I kept saying, it's not for me, it's not for me. Until one day somebody asked me, would I please teach them Tanya? Now, how could I teach something that I am not familiar with? So I said, okay, and I sat down with Tanya and Lessons in Tanya by Rabbi Kranziewski, and I dug in and dug in and dug in, and was just enthralled by it, and gave over these classes to women and who also just loved it. It's okay to be hesitant, and it's okay if you don't find the right teacher immediately, or the right class online, or the right commentary, but don't give up, and don't say it's not for me. Give it another chance, and maybe another chance, and maybe it might take another time. Let yourself dig into the Tanya and see how it's going to change your world.
I think probably a mess, rush to go nowhere. It's, like I said, it has given that peace. You know what I mean? That tranquility, like, all right, there's a stick hitting me. Don't get upset at the stick. Find out who's holding that stick. It's knowing you look at life in a totally different way. And once you start seeing that, it's just amazing.
Man soll wissen, seiner Kore wie lecha dover meid. Die Ficho will wofcha la seisei, was in Druf seine sich mechuiv, anoshim, venoshim, bili shum chilu klar. Kommen noch einmal, man soll sich nicht stufen, aber das nicht in der Walbel sein. Und als es in der Walbel sein wird, gedauert noch länger.
I think also either coming to Rabbi Krasniansky's class or watching some of his content is really the most engaging because he's so passionate and his explanations are so deep and caring and specific, and he really stays with a topic and stays with a concept until it's really ingrained and you really understand it. And he does a great job of recapping what was discussed before. So there's no substitute for his energy and his passion for somebody who wants to start studying.
We have a website that's been shared hundreds of thousands of times.
Lessons in Tanya.
It's available in a podcast, on the app.
The Tanya of Rabbi Schneur Zalman of Liadi. Taught by Rabbi Ben Zion Krasniansky.
The classes through the websites have been studied in over 80 countries.
My participation in the production of recording a series of Tanya-based lessons. It has a good chance to improve the world beyond anything that people today think the world could imagine the world to become. Amazing feats will happen in the next 5, 10, 20 years, totally revolutionizing the world. And it's based on knowledge and based on spiritual knowledge and knowledge that's in the Tanya. This is a critical moment to expose, make available this material to the world. And I want to wish all the participants and the students and the speakers and the teachers the best of my good wishes and continued success in your project. And help the world move forward to where I optimistically believe it's going to go, which is just upwards and to a wonderful, wonderful new world.